Okay, so hello everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the webinar for investors on the topic of life science and medical devices investments from our investment club, Invest.IL. So we will start to present our agenda, some opening remarks, and then, of course, the keynote speakers, and we'll present the startups that were carefully curated by BDO experts and of course are very interesting as an investment opportunity in the stages they are. So I will start by presenting myself, and then we'll go over the agenda and all the topics. So I'm Victoria Rosen. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of the investment club Invest.IL, which is operated by BDO and CIDBs. And also at BDO, I'm the head of startup strategy and innovation. Okay, so let's go directly to the agenda. 1 second. Okay, so we have a very interesting agenda for today. We will start with some explanation about our investments club, the opportunities in the medical devices investments in Israel. Then we will go straight ahead to our keynote speakers. Shai Marcus, he's the CEO of More Research. He will talk about tech transfer and what investors must know about all these issues and the connection between the technology that can be developed in the hospitals and in different research institutions. The second keynote speaker is Benjamin Sofer. He's the CEO of the Israeli very large hospital Ichilov, and he's the CEO of Ichilov Tech, the innovation department at Ichilov, the largest hospital. He will talk about the role that the hospitals play in the growth of the Israeli health tech startups. And after these two keynote speakers, we will showcase 3 startups, very interesting ones. Mika AI, which is in the field of AI-based diagnostics. Unit Medical, which has a very interesting device for various applications for the blood transfer and warming. And the third startup is Genta Gel. The CEO is Ariel Orbach, and he will present new ways of treatment in the cases of inflation and new ways of treatment. It's very interesting. All of those startups were pre-screened by BDO experts, curated, we checked product market fit, revenue projections, the technology, and it was very selected and hand-picked startups to show you today. And in the last part of the session, we'll have some Q&As, so you'll be able to ask startups and so on, questions and etc. So let's go over to the introduction about Invest.IL. So first, for the new investors that joined our sessions, we have here a combined audience of both investors that are already part of our club and new ones that are interested in this special vehicle that we established. So I'll give you a brief explanation. So Invest.IL was founded by BDO, which is a top consulting and advisory firm. It operates in 166 countries, and we have multiple consulting departments, accounting, etc., and by CIDBs, which is a consulting and investment platform for Israeli startups, a very interesting startup on its own, with vast distribution channels and access to Israeli tech startups and innovation. And it is founded and also sponsored partly by the Israeli Innovation Authority as part of the Israeli government to support investments in Israeli technology. And our mission of Invest.IL is to connect investors, visionary investors with very interesting, groundbreaking Israeli startups, very innovative technology that were curated by our experts, and of course the members of our investment vehicle and our club to help them to make informed investment decision and achieve, of course, sustainable returns. After all, we are BDO is also an accounting company. So let's talk a bit about the verticals that we are searching for investments and our verticals of expertise. So our club actually has three technological verticals. One of them is life science and health tech. And within the life science and health tech, we focus also on different topics. It can be femtech, it can be digital health, accurate treatment, home diagnostics, medical devices, neurovascular solutions, and so on. So if we look for a second, why it's interesting, all this field of the medical devices, why it's interesting as an investment. So we have also here a lot of international investments from abroad, so it's important to give this briefing. So Israel, of course, known as the startup nation, mostly due to exits in cybersecurity and ways and really large companies like this. But the interesting figures show that actually out of the 15 biggest exits in Israel, 30% of them were medical devices companies. So on the left side, you can see that the top medical devices exits in the last 10 years. You can see here the $1 billion club from the Israeli innovation startup. So those are 30% of the largest Israeli exits in the last 20 years. Overall, $18 billion were invested in medical devices in the last past years, 10 past years in Israel. 34% came out of this $18 billion, came from private investors, and almost 60% were invested in early stage startups. So it's quite interesting figures for such a small country. And now it's also important to say what makes Israel an interesting place to invest in medical devices startups. So I will not talk about, of course, the obvious Israeli human factor and the entrepreneurs and their extensive background and knowledge and our academic level and the high experience that they have. This is, of course, something that is very unique as well to Israel, part of our national treasures. But the main, also I want to talk about the four main points, the additional ones. So it's governmental investments in R&D. So we have a lot of support and investments from the Israeli Innovation Authority in Israeli technology and startups in early stages. We have very interesting connection, and this you will understand with our two keynote speakers. We have very interesting and rare connection between the Israeli startups and the Israeli innovation and the public health system in Israel. Our public health system is one of the top qualities in the world in terms of its quality, but also it's a sandbox, a ground to test different technologies. And these rare connections, you will understand it better with our keynote speakers. Also, Israel has our public system has one of the deepest databases that are able to train different algorithms. If we're talking about AI-based diagnostics and solutions and so on, so the data that is used to train all these models is very important and very hard to get. And in Israel, we have a very deep databases. And of course, the fact that Israel every several years or every second year or so on have also some crises in terms of defense and things like this. So the nature of the startups are very adaptive. So also the entrepreneurs and also the startups have high adaptivity to changing environment, changing needs and different circumstances. It's also, the need also fosters a lot of innovation and field testing that is not always possible and available in other countries. it's not a good thing to have some always defense issues, but it sparks innovation as well. The medical devices sector in Israel is very, very interesting. It's blooming and it's interesting, have a lot of opportunities. There are around 1,000 startups in Israel in the field of medical devices. However, the important thing is to find the right ones, okay? The right ones, the interesting ones to invest, because of course the runway is long, and if you succeed big time, but you need to find the ones that really have this high potential. So in Invest.IL, we have a vast ecosystem of partners that enable us to scout and target those startups. We work with the Israeli regional R&D centers, Israeli accelerators, hospitals and clinics, academy, commercialization units, our partners network, scouting, targeted scouting for these companies to find the interesting ones and the promising ones. And of course, we use as well our to screen them and to understand their value, to examine the product market fit, to examine their financial health and financial projections. So of course, we have all this expertise at BDO in our global network, and as well with our experts that can actually screen those startups, understand not just the technology, but also the product market fit, the financial aspects, and so on. In terms of the value proposition of Invest.IL is really based on those key elements. So our global network and the ability to with our consulting experience as a top consulting company to identify the promising startups, to have advanced screening process, to understand the technology, since BDO and the experts each has their own understanding of different verticals and sectors. And of course, to give also a full home for potential investors, also in additional services like risk management, portfolio management, establishing those of special purpose vehicles for joint investments, taxation consulting, and so on. The ones that, of course, will join our investment vehicle and club will also have a user-friendly interface to really examine the startups, to see the data room, to see what part of their investment round they're in, and so on. And we don't have membership fee, which is also something that we are able to offer, of course, thanks to the support of the Israeli Innovation Authority. So this is the value proposition of Invest.IL. And in terms of the screening process, so it has really 4 steps from locating the startups through our partnership ecosystem to screening them with interviews, with very extensive checklist. We have investment committee to examine all the elements of the startup, the team, the product market fit, and all the things I described. And of course, our final decisions, what startups are we showing and portraying and recommending to our investors. So our members in Invest.IL enjoy free participation in Invest.IL events, educational programs throughout the year about different trends, possibilities in the specific markets and the industries, direct access to the startups, one-on-one meetings. After this session today, you'll be able to contact me and we can schedule one-on-one meeting with the startups for you to dive in into their value proposition and technology, of course. Investment recommendation engine, joint group investments and VC rounds. Our startups, some of them are financed also by the Israel Innovation Authority and have matching grants if the investor will put additional funds. Expert services and incentives for different referrals if you bring additional investors to our club. So I'll just say that after this session, you will receive a link and then you can explore the different opportunities and be part of our community. Of course, all of this free of charge. And now here is my phone number and email address. After the session, you also feel free to contact me in order to set up meetings with those startups. And on this note, I will just wish everyone happy holidays. This year we have Hanukkah and Christmas together in the same dates. So everyone have a nice holidays, and I hope you enjoy this evening. So please, Shai.
Thank you, Victoria. Hi, everybody. My name is Shai Marcus. I'm the CEO of More Research Application, the technology transfer company of Clalit Healthcare. For those of you who are not familiar, Clalit Healthcare is the largest healthcare organization in Israel. And it's a payer-provider system. So Clalit has more than 5 million clients, which represent about 52% of the Israeli population. And let me share my presentation before I start. And I would like to talk about the concept of technology transfer as a way or a tool to start companies and enrich the technology and diversification of the industry. In my case, it's all about the healthcare, because we're representing a healthcare organization, the owner of 14 hospitals and 1,600 community clinics in Israel. So let's start by, let's start by explaining what is technology transfer. So basically, when we are talking about technology transfer, we're talking about the transferring inventions and ideas from academia, can be universities, hospitals, any other public institution, to companies, to tech companies, to develop them into products. So the discoveries, the innovation is being done in the institution, and the companies that will receive the technologies will develop them into products and introduce them to the market. The basis for this industry is in Israel. It's called the Service Invention Law, or by its popular name, the Patent Law. And in the US, it's called the Bayh-Dole Act, which state that all inventions created by employees are the property of the employer. So in case of public institutions such as a hospital or university, which are not allowed to develop the technologies and sell products, because they are expected to create research or provide healthcare services. What we do is we mostly license, or otherwise transfer the inventions, the discoveries to companies, so they can develop the products, and we have some kind of a business model, a return model, so we can share some of the success of the products. Usually, the transfer of technology is done by licensing the rights and the patents after we protect them, or spinning out companies. I will elaborate in later on. So why do we need technology transfer? And then maybe if I can share just a second, a short video. If any of you is aware of the Avengers movies, there is a scene in the latest movie of the Avengers trying to send Ant-Man in a time travel, and let's see what happened. Okay, I hope you can hear it. My pants.
I don't know if it was baby me or old me. Or me.
Okay, so we saw here a demonstration where the scientist here, it's the hawk, for him, it's a win, okay? He succeeded to send someone in time travel. Obviously, it's not market ready, and this is exactly the difference between how the academia or the research sees the R&D and how the company sees the R&D. And the tech transfer company or the technology transfer process is exactly to bridge this gap, to bring the science achievements, which are far from being products, to the market by licensing them. Just to mention that some industries, such as the pharmaceutical industry, is heavily relied on tech transfer. A lot of the drugs that you know originated from academic institutions. There are some drugs that are licensed between companies, and this is a very common practice within the pharma industry. In the medical device industry, it's also popular. Let me show you some examples of famous stories that came from tech transfer. So Google, I assume most of you heard about it. Originated from Stanford. The founders were PhD students in Stanford, and the first patent was filed by the university. Genentech, now a member of Roche, was a pioneer in antibody research. Mobileye, very famous Israeli success story, originated from the Hebrew University. Copaxone from the Weizmann Institute. Cherry tomatoes as well from the Hebrew University. The flash drive disk on key was licensed from the Tel Aviv University, and there are many, many more. The tech transfer is much more popular than most of the people know. How do we transfer technology? So I mentioned before that the most popular, most common ways to license technology is basically the institution remains the owner of the patents, and we give rights to companies, can be a spin-out, or already a company, a large company, medium company, existing company that will license the technology. We'll develop the product. The license can be exclusive or non-exclusive. It all depends on the needs of the company and the technology. We can sell patents, assign them to other companies. It's very rare. We do it only in very, very extreme cases. Or we can give it away. We can give the rights to the inventor, for example, and then he can be the entrepreneur or found and start a company and develop the technology by himself. Again, this is not the common. When we talk about licensing, there are some important parts that has to be in the agreement. So first, what are we giving? Okay, what rights are we granting? What is being transferred? We give only a license in the patent. We have know-how. We have clinical data. We have prototype designs. So this changes between the agreements, and we need to be very clear in the agreement what is being transferred. Second thing is the exclusivity, whether or not the license is exclusive. And there are ways, most of the times, especially in life science, the license is exclusive. There are cases in which a company or a university develops a platform technology, and they can license it to several companies and either give exclusivity in a territory or exclusivity to a clinical field, but it's basically the same technology that is being licensed to several companies. In pharmaceutical, by the way, we don't see any, it's always exclusive because two companies cannot develop the same drug. It will kill each other's program. A very important issue in the license is a commitment by the company to develop the technology into products. We are not giving licenses for companies to shelve them in order to avoid competition. We would like to see the product in the market, and in every license, there is a very strong commitment from the company to develop the product and with milestones and very clear ways for us to monitor it. And if the company, for any reason, stop development, it can be objective or subjective reasons, strategical reasons by the company, we have the right to terminate the license and get the technology back. This is what's called the return of rights. We will get it back and license it again. Another important issue in the license that needs to be very clear is the returns for the tech transfer. It can be royalties. Most of the time, there will be royalties in the agreements. The company took a technology, it was beneficial for it, and they need to pay. Instead of paying cash for the technology, we ask for royalties. We stick to the success of the product. If the product sells well, we will get a lot of money as well. And if it's not, then no. This is I think, in my opinion, it's the most honest and fair model. In spin-outs, we usually ask for equity as well, small share, not the majority, of course, and not just a small share of the company. In some cases, there can be milestone payments. It's very common in the pharma business. It's less common in other places. And there can be other payments, such as the license fee, minimal royalties, etc. Sorry. Since we are representing a research institution, we need to keep the right for our researcher to keep on the research, and there is a research right in the agreement. The company can be involved in the research and get some rights for the results or not. So it's a matter of understanding and agreements between the company. We insist of keeping the right to publish the results. As, again, academic institution, we need to publish the papers. Usually, it benefits the companies as well, having their technology published in peer-reviewed paper. And there is an option for sponsored research, whereas the relevant and the company is willing to do that. In this case, the company, of course, is getting the right to license the research results. So, there's a lot of text, you can read it, but the technology transfer is really beneficial for the industry. Not always the entrepreneurs, the good entrepreneurs are also technology, coming from the technology field. Sometimes they're just good managers. They see a technology, they have an idea, they can take it to places sometimes that we didn't think about it, or the inventor didn't think about it, and they can do good things with it. As we all know, a good entrepreneur is a good manager and not necessarily a good tech guy or a girl. So it's another way to take a technology and start a company. It was shown, and there is a lot of data and a lot of studies being done that using open innovation and technology transfer really reduces risk and favors the companies, especially the small ones, in developing new products and entering the market. And overall, it creates more diversity and more ideas coming to the market. The bottom line in my talk, and I will finish with this, then if you invest in technologies coming from academia or tech transfer, you reduce the risk because a major part of the discovery, major part of the innovation was already done, not on the expense of the company. Of course, there is a long way to go from the licensing to the market, but again, The most risky parts, which are the initial parts of the R&D, were already done, and you start from a higher point with less risks. You get basically a very good combination when you spin out a company or you invest in a startup coming from academia. You have the inventors. For example, in our case, most of our inventors are clinicians, mostly doctors. They understand the need. All the inventions are coming from a real need of the market. You don't need to explain it. They know the clinical field better than anyone. So you have the advantage of collaborating with them. You have the innovators, the people that will take this further, and the entrepreneurs with their managers, and really get a very good team that encompasses all the needed abilities of a good team. The relationship with the hospital or university is beneficial for the company because you get the access to the clinical field. Once you need to test your technology on patients, you have the access. It can be data as well. You have the research facilities in universities. You have the brand of the organization. So if you're licensing from Clalit or Ichilov or the Weizmann Institute or Princeton or whatever, you can use the brand of the institution to promote the company. And of course, the network of the institution and the researchers that can support the company in receiving funds and accessing the market, etc. Key opinion leaders, what have. I hope I convinced you that it's a good opportunity to invest in spin-outs from academia, although there are royalties and equities to the academia or the hospital, which is not an investor later on, and it's really beneficial. Thank you for listening. My contact details are here. If you have any questions later on, if you want to talk about licensing technologies, if you want to hear about our portfolio or more research, currently have a portfolio of about 30 spin-offs which are active, from early seed stage to listed companies traded in the US, Australia, and Israel. So I will be very happy to speak with you and discuss a specific opportunity. Thank you very much.
Victoria, should I go on now?
Yes, Benny, please.
Okay, so hi everyone. Victoria, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you, the BDO team. My name is Ben Sofer, and I'm heading Ichilov Tech, which is the tech transfer company of Ichilov, one of the two largest hospitals in Israel, based in Tel Aviv. Just by way of background, before coming to Ichilov, I spent 14 years almost managing the tech transfer at the Technion, which is the Israeli MIT, so to speak. And before coming here, 2.5 years in King's College and Guy's and St. Thomas's in London, where I headed the commercialization activity and set up KHP Ventures, which is a fund. So picking up on what Victoria said, that 30% of the mega exits in Israel came from medical devices, it's very much true. And if you look just on the exits on the last year, we had 4 mega exits. 3 of them came from hospitals, which is quite unique. One actually from Ichilov called V-Wave, was sold to Johnson & Johnson for $1.7 billion very recently. And then Innoval from Tel Shomer was sold for, I don't know, I think $500 million to Edwards. And then you had Belkin Laser and another company, Cartihill, which is the only one that didn't come from a hospital. And I'm saying it just to give you some flavor on the horsepower that you have here, the strength of the innovation coming from the hospitals, and as opposed to, universities where the innovation is curiosity driven or technology driven. In a hospital, it's all need driven, and there's a sense of urgency that you don't find in universities. And that's why I'm a strong believer that innovation that comes from hospitals has much more resilience and success potential than other innovation. So this is just this way of background. I personally think that hospitals that will not be engaged in innovation will become less relevant. And the same way goes for universities. Universities that will not do innovation will become less relevant because today you can acquire education anyway in the world. I have a small presentation which I'm happy to share with you, but I don't think that we are the main course. I think there are three very, very interesting companies. But if you see this slide, I will just go over it very, very briefly. So a hospital is an ecosystem like any other ecosystem. Israel is also an excellent ecosystem for innovation. I spent several years in Boston, several years in London, and definitely Israel is probably the best place in the world to do early stage innovation because we have all the ingredients. Innovation takes entrepreneurs, takes lawyers, VCs, accountants, and it's enough that one of the ingredients is zero and the total outcome is zero because it's a multiplication formula. It's not an adding formula. And unfortunately, we rank in Israel very, very high in different areas of related to entrepreneurship. The most important thing is the spirit, the risk profile of the Israelis is extremely high, and that's why we like and we excel in innovation, and you see this in this slide. A few words about the hospital. So the hospital has 26 active spin-outs, 700 researchers, so MD, PhD. Out of the 2,000 MDs, doctors, 700 of them are MD, PhD. 8,000 square meters of research facilities, and at any given point, more than 2,300 clinical trials. This is something, again, we put a lot of emphasis on. For us, the model of operation is basically packaging the research that is done within the hospital and then finding a good home for these technologies in the form of setting up a startup, because we strongly believe that a startup is the best invention ever. You have a dedicated team, a very rigid timeline and goals with no politics, as opposed to big organization. You know what they say, that big organization is where big ideas come to die. And unfortunately, it's very much true. So this is something we strongly believe in. So we connect entrepreneurs with technology, with funding, and we let them go. We like a tugboat in a big harbor. So our role is to make sure that these ventures find themselves out of the port of Ichilov, and we try to facilitate as many of this spin-outs, because at the end of the day, it is, as you very well know, being angels, that this is a lottery game. Hospitals have and the healthcare system have undergone a major transition since COVID. COVID was terrible in many ways, but there's also a silver lining. What we discovered that there are many other underutilized assets in the healthcare system. The most important one is being the patient. So now the patient is much more empowered. And the second one is the importance of data. Countries that knew how to deal with data excelled. Dealing with COVID, countries that were able to respond quickly excelled. Countries that were able to collaborate excelled. Unfortunately, in Israel, we have treated data differently in other ways. Like in Europe, many of the organizations are extremely protective about data. In Israel, the system was introduced that you need actually to opt out in order for your clinical data not to be shared. So the default position is that your clinical data is shared. And there's a wealth of clinical data that goes back 40, 50 years ago, because we are all enlisted to the army and all our clinical data is in our records. And we have Clalit, which is a huge HMO. And then we have just another 3 other HMOs. And all this data is concentrated. Now, hospitals used to treat data like oil, but data is much better than oil, because oil, once you consume it, it's gone. And data, the more you consume it, the better it becomes. So this is, again, these are leading trends in healthcare. And what we are seeing today, what we're witnessing, is the Uberization of the healthcare system. And this is all thanks to the digital revolution and AI. And here within the hospitals, we have, here in Ichilov, we have about 30, 40 data scientists. Think about it. 8,000 employees, 2,000 doctors, but we have many data scientists, and this is a totally new profession. And we don't say that AI will replace doctors. What we say is that doctors that use AI will replace doctors that don't. And this is something we strongly believe in. You see the impact of data in clinical trials. You see how many new molecules are being introduced into the markets and were discovered using AI. And you see it also in medical devices. So if 10, 15 years ago, medical device was a hardware, and the people employed were mechanical engineer, today, medical device is essentially a software, and the people that are employed there are software engineer and data engineer. And you see it also in the FDA-approved medical devices, and you see the trend, and we are just at the beginning of it. Another major trend is, of course, digital therapeutics. Here you see the trend from drugs to digital therapeutics, because they are superiors almost in any category: cost of development, length of development, phase of clinical trials, regulatory category. Any way you look at it, digital therapeutics is superior to drugs. This is the timeline of digital health. We will skip that because of shortness of time. One other major impact of COVID was again, we mentioned it before, the empowerment of patients. And here you see the shift of powers from the doctors into the hands of the patients. And here in green, you see products that are already available. In yellow, products that are in progress, and in green, still need time. But look at the slide, how many AI-enabled technologies are already there and being used directly by the patient themselves. And this is something new. Now, because of data is so critical, you ask startups, who is your ideal partner to develop your technology? And 25% of them said hospitals. Okay, so this is a major shift, because hospitals, of course, are a place where you have abundance of data. There are many challenges, which I will not go into, but I will conclude the presentation and turn it off to the main course of the evening, which are the companies, by using this slide, which is taken from Stanford. Reviewing patents that were filed by a small university called Stanford between 1975 and 2015. So they filed 10,000 patents. Out of these 10,000 patents, only 77 generated to the university more than $1 million. Only 3 generated more than 100 million. So you see how much inefficiency there's in the process of patenting. And if you look at the mirror with hospitals, I think it's almost a mirror image of that, because hospitals are much more critical and selective in the way they select patents. The motivation to file patents is totally different. The sense of urgency is totally different. This is not to say that technology transfer from universities is inefficient. This is to say that technology transfer coming from hospitals is much more efficient, and the success rate, the hit rate, is much higher. I think we are a bit behind schedule, so Victoria, I'll stop here and turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benny, for this very insightful lecture, and of course, Shai before that. And now let's dive straight ahead to our startups, and we're starting with Lior Wein, the CEO of Mika AI. So please, Lior.
Thank you, Victoria. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lior Wein. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mika. Just to double check, can you see my screen? I'll take it as a yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. So, as a background, Mika is not my first startup. I took my first startup to be a public traded in the state a few years ago. It was also in the medical arena, early detection of melanoma, the skin cancer, CPT code reimbursement, FDA, big success, especially in New York and Florida. Our chairman is Yaakov Perry. I believe that everyone knows Yaakov. He was the head of the security services and also Minister of Science in the Israeli government. Also, you could see that the team is very versatile, very diverse, men and women, co-founders, technology team with vast experience, like Dr. Dobi Tamarkin that took also his company to be public traded in the state. Leading professors from Israel, from the state, from Europe that lead us to achieve our target. And our target is to do early detection of breast cancer faster and much more accurate than today. We founded about 4 years ago in Tel Aviv, based on a technology that born in Sheba, Tel HaShomer, and raised together as a common research, development, and validation that we did in Sheba, and I will share with you later the results. Also, we already signed more than 20 agreements, LOIs, and MOUs with leading hospitals and distributors around the globe. We have a huge amount of data. First, it's huge amount. Second, very high quality data annotated by leading institutes, more than 5 institutes in Israel, about 5 in the States and 5 in Europe, that provide us a very versatile data that makes us ready and eligible to submit to the US FDA soon. Besides, we have few patents registered in EU, US, and Israel. We raised so far about 5 million. It's about 3 million as an investment and about 2 million as a non-diluted grant from the IIA, Israel Innovation Authority, also the Minister of Economic, and credits from Google and Amazon. And lately we announced as the best innovative startup in the Middle East. So what is it about? Unfortunately, breast cancer found as the most common cancer around the globe, but mammography found as the best early detection tool to find any starts or any new lesions on the breast that might be the beginning of breast cancer. So mammography is the most common, but it's not good enough because half of the women have what we call dense breast. Like here in this sample, it looks like a cloud. It looks like a fog that covers the image. And for that, there is another solution. That could be MRI, that could be ultrasound, but all of them cost about 50 billion USD a year. 50 billion in a worldwide, and about half of that just in the States. Besides the cost, it takes much more time. It's not available here today in the same place, so the patient should take another queue that sometimes will take 6, 7, or 8 weeks from now. And it's double pain, it's double cost, and double radiation. Based on that, Mika developed a generative AI tool that can and will solve that issue. By using our generative AI, we can take the standard mammo that just done in the clinic, and we can do 3 things. 1, remove all this layer. 2, highlight and emphasize the suspicious findings. And more than that, provides the radiologist with the risk score. So in this case, we took a non-readable image, cleaned that, highlighted the suspicious, and showed the radiologist that in this case, that could be 92% malignant. Now, the big question, what is the accuracy? What is the accuracy rate? What are the barriers to adopt that kind of technology? So let's talk about the barriers and about the accuracy rate. I mentioned Sheba. As you know, Sheba is one of the 10 best hospitals in the world, and we conducted the clinical validation together with Sheba and found first that by using Mika, we increased the accuracy rate of radiologists by 24%. And more than that, decreased the unnecessary procedures such as invasive biopsies by 40%. Think about that. Reduce dramatically the fear of the patients, reduce the pain, reduce the cost, and do it today, right now, without any barriers. And now let's talk about the willingness to pay, how we can cover the gap between the technology and the user. So there are 5 stakeholders. First, strategic partners. There are 4 leading companies: Fuji, Siemens, GE, and Hologic. And we found that all of them are willing to use our technology, and I will show with you in a minute something very interesting about it. The radiologists, we can increase their accuracy and efficiency and make them make much more money. Why? Because they can charge for that, because there is an existing CPT code. The hospitals can save a huge amount of money and increase their market proposition. The insurance look from the money point of view, and we know that early detection reduces cost. And so let's talk about the patients, our mothers, our daughters, our wives. They can reduce the fear, they can reduce painful procedures and do it faster. The ROI, money. By using Mika, we can charge $25 a procedure instead of 800 or 3,000 or sometimes much more than that. We can reduce the risk of lawsuits to the physicians, and we can save much more of the radiologist's time. We also align with UN SDGs, actually 3 of them, and reduce carbon footprint. We are definitely can be called as an impact solution and impact investment. I promised to share with you some news about the big 4, Fuji, Siemens, GE, and Hologic. So Fuji found Mika technology as a very interesting. We just started the proof of concept with them. I believe that we will get the final results mid of January after the world will come back from the holidays vacations, and the end of this road, that could be an M&A transaction, that could be OEM or any other agreement between Fuji and Mika. And besides Fuji, we have about existing 20 LOIs and MOUs, such as GE, the second one of the big 4. We already work with GE in LATAM, starting in Argentina. And you can see that we have agreement with the biggest institutes and hospitals in the world, also payers like the British NHS, like Clalit in Israel, and other leading hospitals like Baptist, one of the biggest chains in the state, Mayo, one of the, actually not one, the number 1 hospitals in the world, and some other over Europe. We aligned with existing CPT codes, which means we covered the gap between the willingness to pay and actual pay, which means after we will complete the FDA certification and clearance, we will be able to start and charge in the US market. our assumptions about incomes starting from next year, Mika will generate $1 million based on existing agreements such as Baptist and others. And within 5 years from now, Mika will be able to conduct more than 3 million checkups in money that says about $60 million a year. Regarding regulation, and I believe that this is the most, I would say this is the big barrier for startups in the medical arena. But we are there. We know what is the pathway, and we are already in the midway, which means we're already approved by the Israeli FDA called AMAR. We are ISO 13845 certified, actually more than 3 years. We already registered patents. We have the CFS, which means we can sell to other 40 regions around the globe, and we started in Argentina. We have also the Argentinian ANMAT. We will complete the HIPAA in Q2 25 and will be FDA certified Q3 25. Then we will start to charge based on existing CPT codes in the US market, and the year after to the EU. CE, GDPR, starting at the EU market. Yes, there are competitors out there. I will say that some of them are really good, but Mika is the only one that can handle with all mammograms. If you remember, I showed you before the dense breast tissue, which means all the competitors can handle just with half of the mammograms, but Mika can handle with all of them, which means that any competitor, it's also a potential for collaboration. And I can share with you that with 2 of this list, we are in a process to try and find a JV, which means we have a good position in the market. The big 4 looking on us, the competitors understand our advantages, and we are on the right way to go there. So what we are looking for? Mika is looking to raise $2 million. And the use of money is to be ready for M&A. I mentioned Fuji, I mentioned GE. So we would like to be there to increase our ability to make a better proof of concept, complete FDA, complete CE, go to the market, sign JV and collaboration agreements, increase, of course, the accuracy of the platform, get more data, complete R&D, submit more patent, and take our partners and our investors, go all the way together to take the platform to be one of the best early detection of breast cancer platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leo, and good luck. In the end of this session, you'll be able also to ask questions, and of course, contact me for in-person meetings with Mika and Leo. And now let's continue with our next startup, Unit Medical. Amir, please.
Hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm here today to invite you to join us in saving lives with the first portable infusion pump capable of warming blood and fluid rapidly. I have it here with me. You can take a look. And my name is Amir Rosowski, an engineer from MIT. I'm co-founder and CEO of Unit Medical. I bring 20 years of successful leadership in medical devices. I started out in the US in upstate New York at a small company developing MRI magnets, and that company is now part of Philips Healthcare. Oriya Shoam, he leads R&D and has spent 10 years with me developing infusion pumps at a company called Eitan Medical in Netanya. On the right, Professor Moshe Shoam leads our scientific strategy, and he is actually the founder of Mazor Robotics, one of the companies discussed at the beginning of this meeting that was sold to Medtronic in 2018. On the bottom row, Dr. Alon Schwartz is Director of Trauma at Shaarei Tzedek, Jerusalem's largest hospital, and he also brings important strategy from special operations in the Israel Air Force, the Rescue Unit 669, and lastly, on the right at the bottom, Barak Devere. He leads finance and commercial development, and he has worked for over 14 years, the last 10 of which, together with Oriya and I, bringing commercial development and sales channels to Eitan Medical, where he's responsible for over $500 million in infusion pump and disposable sales. I want to talk to you today about 3 major problems in delivery of fluids to patients. The first problem that exists is hemorrhage, which involves providing blood that's supplied ice cold. It takes time to deliver the blood to patients, and the time that it takes can be the difference between life and death. And in fact, it really is the biggest preventable cause of trauma deaths in the US. And we actually founded this company in January of 2024 to solve this problem firstly, and by providing warm blood to patients quickly. The next problem that exists is air in the line. Air in the bloodstream is a huge risk during infusion, air embolism. During patient transport, fluid bags are laid on the patient's bed, and we need ways to ensure that the liquid gets to the patient without air mixing into the liquid. Lastly, too often blood is given cold, fluids are given cold, which makes delivering fluids just that much worse for patients. The literature is full of research teaching us how the immune system, the heart, recovery time are all impacted by hypothermia. And this is both in trauma and in surgery. And these needs affect every single health system globally. The problem is the warming equipment that exists today, the fluid delivery equipment that exists today is bulky, expensive. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to set up the equipment that exists, and that 10 to 15 minutes can be the difference between life and death, and often it doesn't get used. Let's talk about the size for a second of this opportunity. In the world, there are about 100 million units of blood transfused annually. Around 20% of those units are in the US. A little less than half of those units are given in critical situations, trauma, surgery, in the ICU. The rest is given in oncology, hematology, ongoing care in nursing homes, in recovery, longer term. The next area where we have an opportunity is every single surgery that has fluids delivered is an opportunity to provide warm fluids. When IV fluids are provided, they must be provided warmly. And if you don't keep the body temperature warm, you have a risk of infection, of stress to the patient. And what we call perioperative hypothermia is not dealt with today in a comprehensive way. Longer term, and looking forward to the future, we see transfusion at home. We met with MGB this summer and spent time discussing the opportunity for hospital at home, where the holy grail for oncology is to provide the patient with any treatment we can inside the home without risking infection and extra cost coming into the hospital. The value of this market is a $2 billion market. We're talking about the first product that our company is producing. It is for warming and delivery of fluids, and the existing market, we'll tell you about it in a second, really covers the entire gamut from military to emergency. Largest part of the market is surgery, and then eventually home is a potential for really improving the way care is delivered. The devices that exist today in this market are large, expensive. For hemorrhage, we have rapid infusers. They are hard to use. They are difficult to set up. Fluid warmers do not pump, so you have to combine the existing equipment with other devices in order to pump the blood. And you often combine pressure infusers and other infusion sets together with fluid warmers. It means that it often is too difficult and too time-consuming to set up the equipment. And lastly, with regard to hypothermia, we have air being blown into blankets and into mattresses, and we try to keep the patient warm, but at the same time, we're giving fluids that are cold. Our device that you see here is the first portable device that can warm and infuse fluid on battery power. It can infuse all types of fluid. It involves a single device which can be used with various types of disposables, a disposable for providing blood, a simpler disposable for providing other fluids. The pump is a smart pump. It involves safety algorithms. It involves a very extensive IP portfolio, the highlight of which is RF heating, the first device to provide heating to fluids uniformly and without causing hot spots in the fluid as it flows. The fluid can be delivered at a liter per minute, 100 milliliters per minute, and down to very low flow rates. There's a long list of issues that we solve. We've been working with doctors throughout the US and certainly here in Israel to identify the biggest pain points in the market and understand what issues need to be solved. We have a very, very detailed set of solutions for the issues that exist. And we are very, very excited to see the excitement on the faces of the clinicians as we start solving these problems. The testing that we've already done on our device is with whole blood from Sheba, actually, at a third-party lab in Nes Ziona, Israel. We've shown viability for not causing hemolysis when heating the blood, when pumping the blood, not damaging the other components of the blood that are smaller. There's always concern that platelets especially will not be damaged when trying to deliver whole blood. And at the end of the day, we've produced a device which is simpler, faster, safer, and easier than anything that exists on the market. And we have also done it in a way where the disposable is entirely made of plastic. It's small, it's compact, and it provides us a very, very cost-effective solution. Our regulatory pathway is a 510(k), and it is a very, very familiar path forward for us, having produced infusion pumps for many years. We're working on several different go-to-market pathways both in the military realm, and we also have extensive cooperation with Mass General and with Shaarei Tzedek in Jerusalem, as well as dealing in many different ways with clinicians throughout the U.S., especially with regard to pre-hospital care, which is important in saving lives. There are several strategic partners that we're with some of these partners we've done business in the past. One of these partners has already signed an initial NDA with us to learn more about our technology, and we hope that in the coming years we will be working with some of these companies as we go to market. Our company is looking at this significant market with a goal of achieving $40 million in revenue in 2030. Our first application for treating blood is a disposable that's very affordable compared to some of the other devices that are out there. And the disposables for treating hypothermia and providing other IV fluids are very competitive as well. And at the end of the day, most of our revenue is from disposables. So where are we? We've already completed our first working prototype. We are already granted a $1.5 million award from the Israel Innovation Authority. And we've already brought on, most recently, a VC that is interested in joining our seed round, and several private investors. We are very excited to be able to invite those here to contact us to be part of our seed round. And we will be continuing throughout 2025 to complete the device development and then begin the testing for FDA submission, with the submission being held by the end of 2026. So that puts our first U.S. sales in 2027, with growth based on a growing installed base over the years following. So in summary, we are right now in the midst of gathering our $1.5 million matching funds for Israel Innovation Authority grant, and well on our way towards completion of development and submission. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you very much, Amir. And now we'll go straight ahead to Gentagel. Ariel, please. And after Gentagel, last but not least, very interesting startup. We'll have time for questions also for the previous startups that presented.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present Gentagel to you. We're talking about local sustained release of antibiotics for the prevention and treatment of infections. We have a very strong hands-on team. My name is Ariel, and I have a PhD in immunology and postdoc in biochemistry. I used to be involved in companies, bringing them from concept via the lab to clinical trial. And together with my partner, Mr. Lerner, who has more of a strategic business background, we were asked by Professor Dom to continue and push his project towards the clinical trial and market. We recruited Dr. Mazal Dan, a chemist with a PhD in chemistry and postdoc from Johns Hopkins in polymers, and Dr. Tovi Fuhrman, a pharmaceutical engineer who used to be a student of Professor Dom and familiar very much with the technology. Dr. Gabi Polak, who is a radiologist by training and involved also in different technologies, promoting them towards the market. And Ido Agmon, our biz dev, who has a very strong relationship with companies and also used to be the CEO of an incubator here in Israel. And above all, of course, Professor Avidom, the inventor, who has over 90 patents in his arsenal, an international expert in drug delivery and polymers, and currently the chief scientist of the science office in Israel. We have also the PI for our clinical trial in Tel HaShomer Shiva Hospital that we just launched this week. So we're talking about the field of antibiotics, which today is usually given by either IV or orally. And of course, the drug is spread throughout the body. And the problem is that when you have a local infection, the amount of drug that actually arrives to the site of infection is limited, especially to different privileged sites. And also, there are different side effects of each drug that, of course, today we're talking also about, besides the usual problems of kidneys and liver, today there is also more knowledge about the damage to the microbiome. So what we're offering is biodegradable polymer that you can mix with different antibiotics. When our first antibiotic drug is gentamicin, that today many physicians refrain from using because of the side effect. So what we're bringing is actually bringing it back to the arsenal of drugs, because the drug don't go into the system and it stays in the place of injection, or in after surgery you can just paste it on the site and it attached to the tissue and releases the drug over 60 days on the site of infection or the site that that is prone to be infected. We have very good preclinical results from different animal models, including rats, rabbits, mice, and just recently we concluded an experiment in pigs, of course showing the efficacy of our product. We have one patent already granted and 2 others in national phase. The 2 leading indications that we're working on towards the pre-IND application to the FDA are the orthopedic field, which is, even though that is the infections are not so common there, every case is very complex and very expensive. And the other fields are the abscesses, either gynecological abscesses or abdominal abscesses that occur quite a lot, and also even though they can be treated, but they're very there are lots of relapses, and the patients are hospitalized for a long time when it occurs. So the market is growing actually because of 2 main reasons. One is that the more surgeries, even though that we have new drugs, but still the infections are a problem. And today the many resistance strains that also cause a problem and burden to the system. And also because the population is getting older and people are carrying the different implants or living long after surgeries, so they tend to go and return to the hospitals for recurrent surgeries. So that of course raises the amount of infections. The company is based, as I said, on a very good preclinical trial that was supported by the chief scientists in the earlier days, in the before 22nd. And since then, we were able to promote the product first to a scale that can be tech transferred to mass production, and also to produce a clinical batch ready for the clinical trial that we just launched this week. The company is still raising money in the former round as a 10 billion before pre-money, but we are about to submit the pre-IND, which is supposed to be 505(b)(2, and a very lenient route because the drug that we're utilizing in the polymer is a known drug. So what we have to show is in 50 to 100 patients that the route of administration doesn't increase the risk from utilizing the drug, and doesn't decrease the efficiency or the efficacy of the drug, which is not so hard to prove according to our preclinical results. Of course, in parallel to when we conclude the first human trial that's supposed to be concluded by the end of the first quarter of 25, we will start the second round of the safe round with the round that will be with of $4 to $6 million in a much higher value of $30 to $40 million. And of course, afterwards, when we conclude the trial, we will try to collaborate with a large company, and the value, of course, will increase to as we evaluate as between 100 to 150 million. So what the plan is that the company will, of course, in the long run, will partner a large company, and we already initiated some talks with companies in the field, especially in the orthopedic field, that are interested in the platform, in the technology. And also, there are companies that have their own proprietary antibody drugs that testing our platform technology to enhance the potency of their drug. And we're still looking to complete actually less than $1.5 million to complete the round that we're now in for to enable us to complete the clinical trial and the regulatory pathway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ariel. And now I see that in the Q&A section, we don't have any specific questions right now at this second. So we can close this event and tell you, everyone, for the participants, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, in the group chat, you can see the details. Tomorrow you will receive also an email with the details, how to create these one-on-one meetings with the startups that you are interested in. And of course, I'm here to assist you with this. And so please, you feel free also to write me an email, and you'll receive all the information as well tomorrow to make these meetings. And also any other information that you would like to know, we are here to help you with this. And thank you very much. And again, happy holiday season for everyone. Thank you for your time.